Hey, Ben here with H90 Productions, and welcome to the podcast for Sunday, May 25th. We're going to talk about updates on the Mango audio drama project, including Mango 1, which is Mango Dead Serious, and Mango 2, which we are in post-production, which I'm in post-production on right now. But first, I just wanted to say happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope you are enjoying some time off. I'm like, oh my God, am I recording? Yes. Hope you're enjoying some time off, maybe some fun in the sun. Not sure, depending on where you are, I guess, in the world. I am here in Los Angeles. It is actually kind of a cloudy, not so sunny day here in Los Angeles, but I don't have any major plans for Memorial Day weekend, but I did see Mission Impossible on Friday. Today is Sunday. 2 days ago, it was opening day here in the States. And I posted a little video on our social media channels, kind of a reaction video right when I got out of the theater. And I was just blown away by the action. It felt like, I said this in the video, it felt like I was holding my breath the whole time. And I really I came out of the theater it was a little emotional too, because at that time, before I had kind of done my deep dive into everything, like over the past couple of days, I was thinking it was probably the last one, and that got a little emotional. Mission Impossible is kind of a light inspiration for this Mango audio drama series, which each season of Mango is like a different mission. And I really love that about Mission Impossible. I was, again, blown away by the action. I found myself over the last couple days questioning a lot of all the other decisions in terms of the story and the plot and the writing. And it kind of was a buzzkill. I hate to kind of... It's just kind of an honest opinion about it. And my opinion was solidified after kind of doing some, Googling, Redditing research, just kind of trying to find some answers to questions I had. And I think my big takeaway, aside from how amazing the action was just like, it just feels like this movie and Dead Reckoning, the last one, that so much emphasis is being placed on the action scenes, that the writing and story is just kind of like added on top. So, I'm not going into these movies really thinking about plot and writing and a lot of that, but I do feel like some of the other Mission Impossibles were really incredible with that. Ghost Protocol, Fallout, just the pacing, it keeps going, and then the action hits, and it's just this kind of roller coaster ride. I felt like there was more roller and less roller and more coaster in the last two Mission Impossibles, particularly this latest one. I kind of feel like the two movies maybe could have been one, but I think I can guess that they just couldn't fit all the amazing action scenes into one movie. So they kind of had to spread it out over two movies and then just stretched the plot out, the writing, and who knows what the decision there was, but I just felt like the action was just so incredible and so amazing. It's just kind of like disappointing why the rest of it couldn't also it couldn't be on the same level, which again, I'm not going into these movies looking for that. But just back to the action, there are spoilers here. I can't really talk about this without talking about it, talking about the action scene. So if you haven't seen it, fast forward or mute. But the submarine scene and then the plane chase scene was just like, I wasn't expecting the submarine scene because that wasn't in any of the previews. So that was just like, I felt like myself holding my breath the whole entire time. And then the plane chase scene, I was just shaking my head the whole time. I was just like, how the hell are they doing this? And it was really fun to kind of come home and Google it and just look at behind the scenes. I'm sure more will come out about it, but my gosh, just incredible stunts. So yeah, Mission Impossible. And yeah, no major other plans this weekend. Just doing a lot of work on Mango 2 and Mango 1, which is a great transition into the updates for these projects, which is really what this podcast is all about. Let's start with Mango 2. Last week, I think I left off with I'm just starting the sound design process. And so still moving forward with that. Right now, I'm in a phase where I am basically wrangling all the sound effects for each scene. I left off I think I was getting up to scene 15 last week. Excuse me. And this week, let's see, I got through scene 19. So I'll be starting scene 20 heading into next week. This was pretty fun working on the last couple scenes here. This is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but scene 17 through 19 has an aircraft in an electrical storm. And just to give you a little understanding about how that works when I'm trying to figure out what sound effects I want to use for this scene is, first of all, when I'm writing it, I'm imagining the sounds of the scene almost in the way I would be thinking about it visually. If I was thinking about the shot, like what's in the shot visually, that my background is in cinematography and I came up through camera departments. And so I'm very much like coming at this from a visual perspective, but when I'm writing it for audio, I'm thinking about the shot, but then really listening in my mind, like listening in my mind. I think that's maybe kind of redundant. Isn't that what you do? You listen in your mind, but picturing the scene, one, but then imagining what those sounds are like in the scene and making sure that's going to be clear as I'm writing this audio drama, because if it's not clear, the listener is going to get confused, and that's a major problem. So just to give you an example of this scene where this aircraft is caught in this electrical storm, the first shot of it is external. So I will vocalize these things in my mind, but also out loud to kind of hear what this is going to sound like. So an example of that is we got this shot, an aircraft maneuvering through an electrical storm. So immediately the first thing that comes to mind is like wind and then low rumbles of the thunder. So, and then you have the lightning strikes, which are a little kind of higher frequency, like kind of a cracking, sizzling type of sound near the aircraft as this thing's moving through the air. And remember, this is all audio. So the wind, the thunder, like that low end frequency, and then lightning strikes, like hissing and snapping and crackling. And then the scene cuts to the interior where we hear the crew. Now, that's all been recorded. That's not anywhere in this podcast because I started this podcast during the post-production process on Mango 2. But if you go to our social channels, you'll see clips from recording and from production on Mango 2, which happened earlier this year, January and February. And so I have all that dialogue and the audio, which is really doing the heavy lifting in these scenes. So like the characters like, oh, shit, what was that? Some scream, that type of thing. But now with the sound effects coming in and adding to it, it's internally right away I'm going to think about turbulence, like a rumble and like things rattling inside the aircraft. So maybe those are a little higher frequency, like, uniforms and gear and that kind of thing shaking around. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is the list I'm building from each scene before I go look for these sound effects. So I do this for each scene. I make this shopping list. I talked about this in the last episode, last podcast, but my process is for each scene, I will go through and make a shopping list for all of these sound effects. And I'm thinking about what these can sound like. And let's see, inside the aircraft, back to inside the aircraft, things are rattling, seats are rattling. There's maybe some lightning impact from outside, which could be just like maybe a little a little treatment on those lightning bolt sounds I was talking about earlier. Those were really fun to find, actually. There's so many different lightning bolt sounds. And you listen to a lot of things that don't work, but once you find it, it's like, oh, that's the exact kind of sizzle I was looking for. A nice little tail end on it. And so other things inside the airplane when I'm imagining this scene, alarms, wah, 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 bee-boo, 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 bee-boo. What's another? There's so many different alarm sounds when you're looking through these sound effects libraries. And there'll be some power shutdown sound. And then that'll lean heavier into, you'll hear more of the dialogue and you'll hear more of the sound effects when the plane loses or when this aircraft loses its power. And then it crashes, and I don't want to give too much away there because that's kind of a big a part of the storyline. But it does crash into some trees, so those are things I was looking for too, like clipping trees. I can talk about that actually. So clipping trees, the sound effects I was looking for were actually the sound effects I found were sound effects of trees being cut down. So like those types of sounds, and that's the plane coming through, clipping the tops of the trees. And then I really like the idea of including like branches hitting the windshield. So it's like, gotta try to imagine all these sounds baked together in kind of like an orchestra, not like singled out, but I'm trying to give you an idea what goes through my mind when I'm looking at these sound effects. So you got the branches. I got a bunch of those branches because in the sound effects platform, they were only available kind of as single swipes and whooshes. And so I'll add some of that stuff. That's kind of like a higher frequency sound effects, which will work well with all the rumbling. That's something I got to be careful of. And I learned on Mango One, if you get too many low rumble, you can't really hear it. And a lot of people are listening to this stuff on AirPods or earbuds, and there's not a lot of low end in that stuff. And I can hear it because I'm using a sub. But the problem is when you're listening to an audio drama, the statistics say that most people are listening to them on AirPods, and they're not going to hear any of that low end stuff. So I got to be a little careful with that. But those branches are a nice kind of high end thing. They're like scraping the plane as it's crashing. So that's kind of a bit of what's happening with this sound design on Mango 2. Now, I'm not placing any of those in the editing timeline yet. I'm just pulling all those sound effects in. And I mentioned this on another part of another podcast, but I'm pulling them in to my editing platform so they're all ready to go once I do start sound designing, which I could start at any time when I'm actually going in there and pulling the sound effects from my in the editing platform into the timeline. I just like having them all there because otherwise I'm like going to the sound effects platform, wherever I'm pulling the sound effects from, looking for them, then pulling them in. It just like it's that just ends up ruining the flow for me. So it is really coming to life from an audio perspective right now. And, I think the biggest thing for me is it's working. There's so much work to do, and it gets a little overwhelming because, we're talking about one little branch swipe at a time. And I'm just shopping for those things. I'm not even putting those into the edit yet, but it's going to be really fun to pull all those things and start playing around with them in the timeline. And so that's where I'm at. There's going to be, many more weeks of this, and I hope it doesn't get boring talking about this, but I'll do my best to try to bring you in on, what each week is, what kind of what's happening each week with this, and I'm just going through scene by scene. There's 56 scenes, and I will be starting scene 20. Now, it's going to be hard for me to talk about some of these scenes without kind of ruining the reveal of what Mango 2 is about, which will happen sometime this summer. And the thing I'm waiting for with that is for the poster and the design assets to be complete. And that will include the title of Mango 2, obviously an image, which will be a big giveaway to what this mission or this storyline is about. So be patient. I really appreciate it. There's going to be so much more coming. I'm kind of handcuffed a little bit right now with what I can talk about, but something I can talk about pretty openly and freely is Mango 1. So Mango 1 was released in February of 2024, and that is the first season of this audio drama project. And right now I am putting together a whole bunch of like behind the scenes content for it. And there's already a bunch of stuff out. If you're following the social media channels and YouTube, we have the Inside Mango Dead Serious series, which is interviews with myself and the cast. It's kind of reflecting on the experience. You get a real great POV from the actors involved there. And there's some B-roll footage of what happened on set. I am moving right now into the next series, which is called Making of Mango Dead Serious. And I'm still working on this teaser trailer I'm about to release. It's just taking a little longer than I thought. I have work commitments, but also there's just a lot of edits in this trailer. There's a lot of quick edits, and the more edits you have, the more cuts you have, the more time it takes. But that teaser is getting close. I also have to kind of film a little intro outro that I decided to add to it just to add some context. So, I'll be kind of on camera introing it. Not like this, not in kind of the podcast form here, but just a similar shot though. And so I'm going to release a teaser for that series first, and then I'll start releasing kind of full length videos in that series. And that series I'm really looking forward to because it's the true making of series where I filmed everything that was happening from auditions to the production to the recording sessions. And then I would sometimes during the session or after the session, I would jump on camera and talk about it and talk about what was happening, not in real time. Yeah, I mean, I guess, in real time, it's not happening right now because that's already happened. But in the moment, I guess is a better way to describe that, of what's happening. And I think that's like if you like kind of like behind the scenes stuff and DIY filmmaking, I think that's going to be for you because it's even when I'm watching it, I'm like, holy like there was a lot going on that I had forgotten about. And that's another reason why I like doing it, because it helps me remember what happened and learn from it, most importantly, because as I'm headed into, I've already done production on Mango 2, but even the post-production stuff, I'm remembering things like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I should remember that as I'm heading into this process. So it's kind of like, with athletes, filming sessions and watching game tape and that kind of thing. That's a big reason why I do this. I mean, I definitely want to do it to share with you guys and bring you in behind the scenes. That's very important for me, for people to understand how this is happening and how this is being made, especially with this whole age of AI just already upon us. Don't even get me started on that. I'll talk about AI at some point, but a huge reason why I feel like this isn't why I started doing it, but a huge reason why I'm excited about this moving forward is so that this is a human process. This is human actors. This is a human putting this whole thing together. And it's important for me to show that. And I think that's kind of fun. And it's kind of good timing with this whole, man, I've been watching some of these Google, what is it? Veo 3. Like I've watched a couple of those videos and I didn't know what I was watching for a moment. I'm like, oh my God, that's AI. Like what the hell is going on here? Like it's gotten to that level where before you could tell, but these videos, I couldn't tell. And I'm like, oh my God, it's AI. So I think that's going to be more important as we move forward through this time. Is how are you going to know it's real? And for me, it's going to be like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you through a podcast. I'm going to show you with behind the scenes content. I want you to know that this is man-made. So that's why we're doing this, and I'm excited to keep it going. So that's I think that's the update. Yeah, so we got Mango 2, we got Mango 1. Talked a little bit about Mango 3 maybe down the line. We'll see what happens there. But it's just going to be another week of the grind in the trenches here, in the post-production trenches, getting through as much as I can with the sound effects, the list, making the list, wrangling them, shopping for them, finding them, pulling them into my editing platform. And then I can't wait to, that's going to be a few weeks down the line, actually playing with those in the timeline. So let's see, make sure I got everything covered here. Yeah, I think that's it. Covered a lot. Ooh, 25 minutes. Okay. That's it for the podcast for Sunday, May 25th. Really appreciate you listening if you're still listening. And there's a lot more coming from H90 Productions. And I can't wait to share more about the Mango audio drama projects. And then just throwing it out there into the universe. Like eventually I will be making a feature film. Like that is the kind of the big goal. Not anything to do with Mango, because I couldn't afford to do that. Mango is a very action-heavy project, and unless some studio came in or someone with deep pockets, that's not getting turned into a live-action movie anytime soon. And the whole point of this production company and what I'm doing here, DIY, is being able to do things on my own. So a feature film I make will be something that is shootable, is something that I can do a lot. I can wear a lot of the hats on, just like I'm doing with this Mango audio drama project, which is kind of a feature length training ground. Each one of these seasons, Mango 1, now Mango 2, is a feature length story. And I fully plan on making Mango 3. I'll have a little trilogy there, and then we're going to maybe turn our attention to a feature film of some capacity. This is for the people who are still listening here. You are getting the inside information that nobody knows right now. So really appreciate it. I'll see you next week on the H90 Production Podcast. Stay safe, stay tuned, and thanks for listening.